Today is UFC Card Collab number 44. We've got What's News with 26 Chrome. We are ranking the White House. Is it trash? Is it hot fire? We have a few rookies fighting at 327 this weekend. We'll look and discuss some of their cards. Agree or disagree this episode. And it's about Uncle Dana. Some fans might be outraged, Damian. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that. And we got a lot more. But Damian, I see your black eye has been healed up. How is the fight camp going over on your channel and your journey to become a badass boxer?
So yeah, the journey is on a bit of a pause at the moment. I mentioned in my latest video, which was about 2 weeks ago now, that I had an issue with like some bulging discs in my neck, which has been causing nerve pain, and I've had it for a while, unnoticeably, or not unknowingly, not unnoticeably, because I was getting some symptoms, but I ignored it too long, and yeah, it became too big of a problem. So currently just letting the nerves settle. Haven't made a video for 2 weeks, but it put me in a bit of a bad mindset, but I'm going to get back to, shout out to Matty Mack. He messaged me. He's like, yeah, what's the update? So I think I'll do a video this week and just update the people, and then yeah, keep on the journey.
Yeah, man, up highs and lows, we all encounter them as we're trying to reach a certain spot, whether it be boxing, whether it be spreading card information to the masses. It's going to be highs and lows in the journey, but we got to continue forward, Damian. We got to continue pushing forward. And right now, man,
That's life.
that's life, dude. And let's get into what's news. Damian, we got 26 Chrome, and it's here, man. It's basically here next month, and confirmed we have debut patches coming in 26 Topps Chrome. I was worried because they hit us with the pre-sale, and I was scouring all the information, could not find anything about debut patches, and then I was like, have I just been like misleading and lying to everybody, saying that they're gonna be in 26 Chrome? And then about 2 days later, this pops up, which I'm very happy to see. This was at like the Top Summit. Confirmed, we got debut patches, dude.
We're ready. I think we're ready for them, and there's going to be some exciting rookies coming out this year that we probably may touch on. But yeah, we're going to get them, and I think they're going to be a very high chase card for sure.
Yeah, man. Only not. So right here it says key subjects, and then it shows Aaron Pico and Drew Sang Yu. Not necessarily two guys you would be, super hyped to chase or to pull, but only potentially 9 subjects. That makes me think that maybe we're only going to get 9 patch cards in this entire product, which means, I am not going to hit one in the one box that I purchased, most likely. That's going to be an insanely hard thing to hit. I did hear a blurb about maybe potentially it will be 30 next year, which would be a little bit more reasonable. That would be basically almost an entire rookie class. Usually the rookie classes are like around 50, a little bit over 50. So that would be most of them. But I guess 2026, they've only been working on these debut patches. I feel like we've been covering them for maybe less than a year, close to a year. So they probably they probably just didn't have them, enough ready. What are your thoughts on 9 only in this product this year?
It's not that surprising. I said I think it was like towards the back end, maybe like third-ish quarter of last year, that they talked about having these debut patches come out for UFC. So if you keep that into mind, and then we haven't had, I guess, a lot of debutants since, like we have now. But for example, Tommy McMillan,
Yeah.
who fought, and he was obviously on the Contender Series, but now he's only just fought his first fight now. So whether he comes obviously in 2027, I think there's been a few debutants who have made their debut in between that window of the start of this year and up till now. So of course those cards aren't going to be ready yet, which are probably some of the more exciting rookies um, to be chasing for the rookie patches.
Yeah, I think next year we're definitely going to be getting almost all the people that we would want, which makes me think, like, are they going to leave a lot of potentially good rookies out of this class because they don't have the debut patches? Like, you know what I mean? Like, do you have to have the debut patch in your rookie year? Probably, right? So we may not be getting a lot of the people that we would, potentially want in this 2026 product.
Yeah, well, you think obviously the release is not too far off for this product.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as I said, perfect example, probably Tommy McMillan would be the one, obviously coming out of the Tim Welch camp at Red Hawk Academy, is the one that I'd be most excited to try and get. But he only fought just this weekend, so there's no way that his card's going to be included in those boxes now. So, and unless they back it up with a different product, if they put them in finest or something, which I doubt they would, I think they'd want to keep it pretty streamlined in terms of having it in the same product of all years. So I guess, yeah, some of us need to wait till next year.
Yeah, man. To be determined, right? This is all uncharted territory for us with the debut patches. We will, be more familiar with the process, familiar with everything that goes along with this as we go on. But having to be the first year, a lot of questions to be asked. And they gave us also this, Damian, which I thought was kind of interesting. So we have inscriptions and first Chrome autos. So as you can see with this one right here with like Yusuf Salah, they're getting people now to put my first Chrome auto. They're getting more inscriptions. The Nightmare, we're getting nicknames. We have also that one that we covered a few weeks ago is an auto, not an insert. So that's kind of cool that the Coliseum card is going to actually be an auto. But I thought that was pretty fun and pretty interesting, and a good move by Topps to kind of push the fighters to write something interesting on there. And maybe they're giving them like a little kickback and giving them some extra dough whenever they're signing to do that. But definitely way more compelling if you're getting, a first ever Chrome that somebody has ever signed, or, an inscription whenever we're so used to just like, a lot of times we get initials or, just really short insignias on these cards.
Yeah, well, definitely. Like, obviously, the people, the end users of these things, we're all collectors, and we want something that is going to be unique and distinguishable from other things. So, obviously, yeah, the more unique they can be making them with inscriptions or even ring names and stuff like that, that's all stuff that us collectors eat up. So, it's great to see, as you said, that if they are getting incentivized, or may even be too, like obviously, we are seeing more fighters get involved in the card world as well. So,
Mhm.
maybe it's becoming more of a pop culture thing or of a more of a cool thing as well. And I guess maybe more fighters are excited now in terms of collectibles than what they maybe were 5, 10 years ago. So that could be a factor as well. Or as you said, whether they're getting incentivized by Tops to maybe make them more unique with their autos. But yeah, definitely a big win.
Yeah, for sure. I could definitely see that as well. People getting a little more familiar with the game and trying to up it. And check out Tops up in the game, dude. I was trying to remember. I swear we talked about this. Was it on a live? Was it with you about them potentially doing like a throwback design? And this, to me, it looks exactly like 2009 round two right here with the
Yeah, it does.
Habib, which is, I
Yeah.
think that's really fun personally. And then we've got AI Conor McGregor over here. That looks like a mix of like Canelo and Connor. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's just the jumbotron that was showing his picture. But yeah, this one really caught my eye, and I thought was really interesting here. And I'm very curious to see how this looks with a better picture, because if it looks exactly like that, then to me that's really fun, and it does look like also like an on-card auto here. So could be pretty interesting in my opinion with them doing like a throwback design to round two. But what do you think?
Yeah, 100%. And I know people think we're joking about it when we talk this, but I know that, especially your channel over there at Box Alarm Trading, I know Tops would be silly to, and Fanatics would be silly to not be watching
Yeah.
the things that you make content about. So, and as I said, we actually did talk about this. I know we did in terms of throwback autos and using designs from previous, I guess, historic sets, which round one and round two are from 2009. And who knows if even if there's some red ink ones in there, I think that would be very, very, very collectible to a lot of people to be getting, like a red ink throwback design of Habib as we just saw. Like they'd be very, very nice cards. So good
Mm.
incentive and good initiative by Tops to A, be listening to your channel, Zach, and B, making some more collectible chase cards, I guess, instead of just the boring stuff we get year to year.
No, that's a great point about the red ink. Let me go back to this. I believe this was a of five, it looks like. If we can see that on the camera. It looks like an of five, right? Which that would have been a really good opportunity for them to do a red ink, maybe on the 101. Maybe they got a red ink on the 101, and if they didn't, man, that's honestly a missed opportunity, because that would be very, very cool and very, very sick if they were able to pull that off. Not only with the throwback design, but the red inks hit different on that card with the red and white. That would have
Yeah,
really been
exactly.
a really, really nice touch. Man, let's get into this, Damien. We've been speculating on this White House card for months. I feel it's probably been 6+ months, man. We were foaming at the mouth. I remember at the beginning, I was like, I really don't like the idea of involving a sport with the government. To me, it just feels weird. Feels a little bit propaganda-y. But I'm like, I also love entertainment and I love the circus, man. And that's exactly what this is. This is the circus. And me and you were going back and forth. Who are we gonna get? Are we gonna get Connor's coming back, dude? We're gonna get Diaz coming back. Jones is gonna be out there. And then the card drops. And I haven't talked to you since we had this news. And we got the card, man. So before we break down each matchup and we kind of talk about that, what is your overall thoughts on this? And then how would you rank this on a scale of 1 to 10?
Overall thoughts, I think it's quality everywhere. Obviously a lot of these fights, maybe minus the Bo Nickel, they're at least main events for a standard UFC card. Obviously three of those fights, the top fights, would main event a pay-per-view typically. The first two are very, very exciting, and then obviously I'm a hardcore Sean O'Malley supporter, so obviously love to see my boy on there. And then we got, even Rufy versus Chandler. That's going to be a very exciting fight. We've got Bo Nickel on there who draws eyes, and Diego Lopez is just an absolute fan favorite as well. So I think top to bottom, this card is very solid. I know you're maybe a little bit disappointed and had hopes that John Jones was going to be on there. I sort of, for whatever reason, just had a feeling he wasn't going to be due to negotiations. And then, yeah, missing Connor. I guess if you haven't listened to any Connor's interviews that he's done more recently, he mentions about how he was willing to fight on this card, but I guess the UFC knew that this card was going to be special enough in itself, that Connor can sort of draw his own crowd
Mm-hmm.
and his own numbers on any event. So they're probably saving him, I believe, for maybe International Fight Week, the next card or something like that.
What are your
But if I
thoughts?
was to
1 to 10
ranking,
rank.
yeah, out of 10, I give this a 8.5, I think.
Oh, okay. That's pretty high,
I mean,
man.
I don't know why it's getting so much heat. Obviously, we probably don't have the time of day to talk about the Netflix, obviously, Ronda Rousey pay-per-view that's taken shape since then as well, since we last talked. Obviously, some names that where we reflected on what Netflix could do with their money.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know why this is getting so much hate. I think all of these fights are very exciting fights, and I think that's as much as you can ask for. Especially like as I said, the top three fights, and whether you hate O'Malley or not,
Yeah.
I mean obviously I love it, so I'm very very excited for that fight. But the Pereira Cyril Gane, Pereira's going for a three-weight championship. That's very historic in itself. And Ilya Topuria and Justin Gaethje, it's going to be a very very good fight. So yeah, nothing to as I said, I give it a solid 8.5. Could have been a
Okay.
little bit better, but not much better. As I said, UFC have to put on events all year round. So
All right. Well, I will I'm gonna give this a much worse grade than 8.5, and I'm gonna explain why I am disappointed with this card. I don't think this is a bad card by any means. If this was on 328, if this was on 330, this would be a banger of a card, man. Like we have some really good matchups, we have some really fun fights, and there's guys on here who I'm really excited to see fight. I think the problem is it was just the classic like over promise and under deliver. We were told there's going to be like 7 title fights on here. This is going to be the greatest event of all time. This is going to be the most stacked card we've ever had. And I don't think this is even, in my opinion, that this is not as good as UFC 300 because we had so many more fights on UFC 300. We had all the prelims were stacked, the main was stacked, and on this we have what 6 or 7 fights, and that is it. So to me, I was expecting a 10 out of 10, and I was expecting a couple of names that we didn't get on here, and I think a few tweaks could have this card be a lot better. But yeah, man, it's not horrible. It's definitely not bad. I am excited to watch this, but it overpromised and under delivered in my opinion. I'm gonna give it a 6.5 out of 10.
I think that's a bit rough. I think that's rough. I mean, to expect 6 or 7 title fights is, yeah, it's. I mean, if Kayla Harrison had have been, what if Kayla Harrison and Nunes? Like, obviously, Harrison not medically cleared, I could imagine, with that bad neck
Get her on
injury.
the
But
stem cells,
would
dude. Get her on the stems. Get her on the
would
peptides
have
ASAP.
if we had to replace, let's say we replace the Hoofy and Chandler fight with Kayla Harrison and Amanda Nunes, how much would that have bumped your score up in terms of? Because I don't think.
Tremendously.
Yeah. Okay.
I would have got. I'd get rid of. Let's break this down. Let's go fight by fight, and we'll talk about it. Okay, first we have Diego Lopez versus Steve Garcia. This is a really fun fight, man. This is going to be a spectacular fight. The style is there. The matchup is there. My issue is like Steve Garcia is not a big name. Like you need bigger names on this. Bo Nickel and Kyle Dock, get them off the card. Why are they on this? That one was the one where it did not make any sense to me at all. It's an unranked matchup. It's an unranked matchup. Does Bo have all these secret fans that I don't know about? I mean,
I think Bo is more Captain America maybe than what we give him credit
is he
for. Not coming
related to
from that
Dana
wrestling.
White? Is he getting the nepotism bump? Because that was very, very surprising to me. Mauricio Rufy versus Chandler is again a massive matchup. That's going to be really fun. Like, it's such a fun stylistic fight. I really have no problem with that. I think that's really what this card is about. Then we have O'Malley versus Zahabi. Why didn't they do O'Malley versus Sandhagen? The Zahabi thing really was confusing to me and doesn't make any sense at all, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know why they're avoiding O'Malley. Like, to be fair, as O'Malley said, he doesn't pick his opponents, but obviously the
Yeah.
UFC are keeping them apart. And I believe that's been changed to an interim title fight now because Peter Yan's out till mid-quarter next year with an injury.
Whoa, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
So yeah. Obviously, yeah, we're talking about Dana White privilege. My boy O'Malley gets that every weekend, so
Yeah,
I
no
love it.
doubt. No doubt. Yeah, so then we have Alex Pereira versus Cyril Gahn, which is, again, it's a great matchup, man. But how do you not get John Jones versus Pereira in that fight? Like, that, to me, that's like a miss of all misses. That might be worse than the Ngannou miss, honestly. Like, that was just it really had to happen, and it didn't happen. And it kind of just ruined the whole card. We didn't get Connor. I loved our prediction early on of Connor versus Diaz on this card. I thought that would have been fire and would have been super fun to get some old heads on here. Like you mentioned earlier, Harrison versus Nunez. There's no women's fights on this, which is fine, but I really think that would have been really fun. We have Kayla Harrison, who is an American champion, fighting the greatest woman of all time. I understand the injuries are happening and whatnot. Put her on the peptides, Damian. Put her on all the juice and get her in there for this fight. Don't test them. We needed some more bigger names on this. It's still a fun event. Don't get me wrong. I'm still excited about it. But my main issue, again, was the buildup to this was Dana was saying, everyone from the UFC, this is going to be the biggest event, the best event we've ever had. And then they gave us a good event. Like, this is not a bad event, but because of the expectations set, to me, I got to take like 2 points off and give it like a 6.5.
You know what I would have done in order to give this a 10 out of 10?
Yeah.
I think they should have had Hamzat and Strickland on this card. They could have bumped. But as I said, I believe the way I see with the title fights, as I said, if you were to put 6 title fights, these fighters are only fighting, especially the champions, they're only fighting max twice a year. So if you're putting 6 champs
Yeah.
on
It's too many.
year, it's, you've got nothing left for the back end of the year. There's not going to be enough champions to push the pay-per-view. So I understand they're saving some title fights for other events, which makes sense. And same, as I said, I believe with the Conor return, they're going to save that for its own event. But yeah, as I said, there could have been improvements. But as a fan of mixed martial arts, as you said, should a Corey Sandhagen be fighting O'Malley if you're looking at the rankings? Absolutely, especially if we're talking about an interim title. But the Sahabi fight, he's a kickboxer. Sean O'Malley loves kickboxing, so I think that's going to be a more fan favored fight. Yeah, I like this card. As I said, I don't fully understand the hate. I understand your side of it, the disappointment, but I
Yeah,
don't think,
it's
as I said,
more disappointment. I think that's the correct
I,
word. Yeah, it's more
I never
disappointment.
understood.
It's not hate. It's just like I thought we were gonna get this. I thought I was gonna get a PS5 for Christmas, right? And then I got a bicycle. I don't know. Bad
Yeah, yeah, I know
analogy,
what you
but
mean.
you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, we got this blurb that I saw today, which I thought was funny, and it pertains to the White House. So it's gonna be outside, right? And I didn't necessarily think of this, but this could be pretty hilarious. So this is Dana White. If it rains, we're fighting. If it effing snows, we're fighting. Nothing will stop this show going that night. It can effing rain. Lightning is the only thing. We'd have to wait it out. We'd have to wait the lightning out and then do the fight. So that's actually kind of cool. Like, what if we have this fight and it's raining, dude? What if it's a title fight with Ilya Topuria versus Justin Gaethje? They have the title on the line and they're getting rained on and rains in their eyes and they're all bloody and like that could be cinema, absolute cinema. And also I would be sad because I'm a purist and that would not be the right conditions, for a fight. But it could be amazing.
Yeah, no, surely they'd have some sort of overhead gazebo or something. I can't
Nah,
imagine they're going to
dude.
let the fighters get rained on. Or maybe there's like a couple extra referees holding umbrellas, chasing around the fighters at all times. But yeah, no, they're not going to be getting rained on, that's for sure.
Yeah, I thought that was hilarious and quite the visual there from Dana. Man, we had my our boy Izzy lost again. He lost to Joe Pyfer. This is pertaining to what the still we're still in what's news, everybody. But I was pretty sad, and I wanted to ask you, Damian, because I've seen this actually with a couple different people, and Izzy is just kind of the latest casualty of this, right? Um, and basically so he is a cemented Hall of Fame, guy. The second best all time in that division, only behind Anderson Silva. Accolades speak for themselves. But whenever a guy like this loses, a lot of their stock just plummets. We have cards selling for way too cheap, in my opinion. Is this a big problem within the UFC community whenever we have guys like this, guys like, Max Holloway? I saw some weird stuff about Max Holloway and people questioning his legacy as well since he lost to Charles Olives, and I'm just like it doesn't necessarily make sense to me. Is this a problem within the UFC community and within UFC cards?
Yeah, 100%. And we've talked about this before too. The word comes down to relevance. Obviously, these fighters aren't getting to compete every weekend like other sports. So one bad loss or one bad performance is going to stay relevant until they fight again. And as I said, especially if we're talking championship fights, they might be only fighting twice a year. So it's a long time for them to have a bad stigma around that performance or around that loss. And it's a long time for people to lose hype that maybe they initially had. And UFC fans are very fickle in, I guess how they want to collect or how they want to speculate, especially when we're talking about putting money behind fighters who you might think will have these long-standing legacies. And that's just how it is. I don't know if that'll change as the sport evolves and as the cards get older. I guess, we weren't around when baseball cards first come out for the first, 30 years. So legends are looked on different now for those sports. But as I said, it is also different in terms of how often these guys get to compete, how often these guys and girls get to compete. So it's unfortunate. That's just how it is for the sport. And but I mean, if you're a collector at heart, and if, as I said, I actually started looking at Max Holloway cards. I'm trying to get a first auto for him from 2013 Bloodlines. So it's good opportunity for people who actually are true collectors and not speculating and want to pick up some good cards maybe for cheaper than what they would have if they had a one. So um, yeah, it all depends on the perspective, but definitely I think relevance is the word that I would use. And you're only as good as your last fight, which unfortunately for people like Izzy and well, mind you, here he's on a bit of a skid. But yeah,
Yeah,
if people want to, badmouth Max Holloway, then I guess that's their own opinion. But
but
yeah,
I to me, I just don't under if we're talking about even if we're not talking about collecting, let's push collecting completely to the side, and we're purely talking about long term long term collectability in the sense of value, in the sense of an asset that should be appreciated by majority of the people that are collecting in this sport, right? If we're talking about things that have already been set into stone with wins, with title fights, with legacy, with big moments, like I don't understand the thought process that even if a guy like Izzy goes on a losing streak, or a guy like, Max Holloway, let's say he loses the next couple of fights, that does nothing to what he's already accomplished in the sport. Like if you see a guy like Kobe, you win your championships and then you don't win any more championships for 6, 7, like 8 years. That doesn't affect what you did in the sport at all. And they're not winning championships, but they're still collectible. A guy like Anderson Silva had basically, an exact run like Izzy did as far as losing streaks. He's still very collectible, and we haven't really seen a dip at all within the vintage stuff that Anderson Silva has. So I'm just curious. Like I really am trying to get in the mind of the people that have this thought process. Like, what is it? Is it not having like a long enough memory? Is it like you're saying just
Yeah.
what you did last with the relevancy? Like, it's really confusing.
Yeah, as I said, I would put it down to just the word of relevance. Like, obviously, people see now that Izzy's on a four fight skid. I think they're going to be like, "Oh, Izzy lost again. He sucks." Like that's what, as I said, UFC
That's
fans
crazy.
are very fickle, but I
Yeah.
believe that's how they look at it. And then, as I said, they're going to think, "Oh, he sucks." And then, but mind you, if Izzy had to come out in a month's time and then absolutely starches someone, then that opinion that he sucks would lose traction. But because now we're going to wait a possible 6, 12 months for Izzy to fight again, he's going to suck all that next time until he gets another chance to perform. So, and then as you said, with Anderson Silva, I think that's a very similar thing. Like maybe when Izzy retires and then his career is less about what happened in the end,
Mm,
but what happened in the middle, I
yeah,
think
yeah.
maybe then he'll be more appreciated. But because I don't think Anderson Silva. I mean, I think also too, this is the relevance of older products over the past few years since Anderson Silva retired, that they've become more popular, they've become more valued by collectors as a whole. But if I think if you had of bought some Anderson Silva cards at the back end of his career when he was fighting at lightweight, for example, and went on the skid that he did, you probably would have got cards cheaper than what you would now than after he's retired. And as I said, that's also due to the popularity of older products, but also too because the sentiment was, oh, Anderson Silva, he was a legend, but now he's lost five in a row and he sucks. Like it stains their legacy until I guess they at least retire, and then you can then look back overall in their career and see their achievements. Whereas at the moment we're just looking at the last fight.
Yeah, I actually think that's a good take, and that could be how this plays out. Because I'm thinking at this point, let's take a look at this sale, Damien. This is a 1 of 1 Matt Relic from UFC 236, Gastelum versus Izzy. This is a first auto, mind you, and it sold for $2,260. That is an incredible buy for whoever got that card. That is very good value for what that card is, in my opinion. We have this one that went for $3,000. This is again a 1 of 1, aka on card ink style bender with the nickname for $3,000. Like that is crazy good value, in my opinion, for a guy that is what is he top 15 of all time? Is he top 20 of all time? Like that's how good this guy is whenever you compare, all the all-timers in this sport. It's just crazy those two sales, in my opinion, but definitely a good topic and something to think on. And again, with those 101s, man, I'm continuing to see this trend as the prices get a little bit higher and a little bit higher. Like I feel like those are the cards that are the most undervalued when it comes to this sport in this sector of collecting. Like it's the top end is just crazy suppressed right
Yeah, it
now.
is.
And I think really if you're a guy that is going after this, not only for collecting but also for potentially flipping or value plays, go to the top, because I really do think that's where you're going to, 5, 10x those numbers over time, because they're just so suppressed.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And even if you look back at the older sales of 2009, when that was first out in 2009, 2010, like a red ink auto, for example, for GSP, I think maybe that fetched like $900 back then. Like that's a lot of money back in 2009 comparatively to now. But what's that card worth now? Like maybe 15, I think, it gets offered for about 15 grand or something like that. Like that's one thing I learned sort of midway through my journey of UFC cards, and that was the expensive cards are always the expensive cards. And even if you think, oh, I know we saying those sales were underappreciative, and I agree, especially given that Gastelum relic. But uh, whatever you think now, if say it's a $10,000 Black Prism 101 auto or whatever, or rookie card, you may think, oh, that's very high value now, but they're the cards that over the longest term
Yep.
appreciate the most. So the most expensive cards are always the most expensive cards for a reason.
Yeah, that it just makes me wish I was making a little more money, Damian, and then I could have got a 101 Izzy first auto from a Hall of Fame fight, dude. That's a crazy buy for whoever got that. All right, next up, let's talk about some rookies that are going to be fighting at this next event.
Yeah.
Damian, I know you're a big pro wrestling guy. I know you like the antics. And I wanted to pick your brain on this guy. He is taking the internet by storm. I feel like every time I scroll, I see another page and another blurb about this guy, the incredible Hawk, Josh Hokit. Let's take a look at this.
8,000 people. 20 million. 20 million watching around the world to see the incredible Hulk.
I don't want to get copyright stroke, so we're going to stop it there. But this guy is just pure heel. He is spitting all types of bars. He's trying to, bring out the pro wrestling game, and he's doing it nonstop. I feel like I've seen like 15 or 20 clips of him just like doing the Muhammad Ali poems type stuff. What do you think about this, man?
I've actually never seen that clip before in my life, or have I heard of that guy, but I love it. And as I said, I think we're going to see this more and more, especially as the next generationals come up. Like you want to be smart about UFC is a business as much as it is as a sport. So the more noise you can make, the more you can distinguish yourself, the better you're going to get paid, and the more opportunities you're going to get. So obviously there is a point too where you need to perform.
Yeah.
But I mean, anytime we see individuals, characters, that always makes the best stories. So yeah, sign me up for that. I'd be interested to see how that guy goes.
Yeah, man. After this, you need to go look at some of his promos at the press conference. He's coming after Yuri with a lightsaber. Like the guy is, he's just going absolutely bananas right now. And say what you want, he only has 3 fights, Damian. He is fighting Curtis Blades, who is ranked number 4 in the rankings. He is unranked, fighting number 4 in the rankings. This type of media work, this type of attention and buzz that he's creating for himself, it does work. And the proof is in the pudding at him getting this matchup right now, man. Now, long term, is this type of thing really going to play out how he wants it to? I feel like you have to win, right? Winning is the ultimate
Yeah.
equalizer. Like if you lose, nobody cares, and he looks like an idiot, right? If he wins, he can keep doing this. People will still pay attention. It'll be funny and it'll be fun. But if he loses, it's completely over. Also, I wanted to kind of pick your brain on this too. So, one cool thing about fighting and the characters is that, and I say characters, I mean the people that are fighting, is you get to know them, you get to know the person, you get to know the personality. Whenever you have a caricature like he's doing, like Colby Covington has done, at a certain point, it's almost like, who really are you? Like, I want to know who you really are. Like, are you able to do the character and then let's say he continues to win and he wins a championship? Are you able to switch back to a normal person? Do you have to keep that shtick? What are your thoughts on that?
I agree what you mean. I know it depends on the fan, right? Obviously, if the more average fan, they don't care. Like they love the circus, as you said, of the characters. But if you want to be a deeper fan and you want to know more, you're going to want to be able to connect more. And you're not connecting with someone who you believe is, putting on an act. And I think that obviously that hurts. We talked. You just mentioned about Colby Covington, and I think that becomes more relevant the less you're able to perform. So I think if Colby Covington had a been champion, had have steamrolled all these guys while doing his shtick, he would have been much more popular. People would have cared less about the character that he puts on because they would have been all in for it. But if you're not doing so well, if you're having some bad performances, boring performances, and you're still carrying on with this stick, that's where I guess some people still like it, but a lot of people, they're not going to resonate with you. They're going to think you're just fake and phony. And then obviously, yeah, you're not sort of backing up what you're actions are or what you're sort of talking about. So I think that's where it becomes a problem if it's not aligning with the performances.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Curtis Blades is a tough guy, man. That's a very tough matchup. I think Curtis Blades is probably going to get the dub here, but if he doesn't and Hokit gets the dub, it'll be. I'm really curious to see how this plays out. Not only with him fighting in the cage, but just like this, whatever he's doing, because in all reality, I don't think we've necessarily seen someone do it like this obvious. You know what I mean? Like he's like full on basically doing a Macho Man impersonation. You're gonna, and I think you're gonna like what he's doing, dude. Some of it is super goofy, but like we've never seen somebody go this hard with the shtick. So very, very interesting. Also, he has no cards. So if you are a WWE fan, you like pro wrestling, maybe he'll kind of attract that crowd and he can kind of get those fans behind him as well, because he basically is 100% just bringing WWE into the UFC. A lot of letters there for you guys.
Yeah, well, he could even be auditioning. Obviously, TKO Group
Yeah,
are the same
fair.
holding. So who knows? Maybe if fighting doesn't work out, he gets a gig at WWE as a stick there. You never know. Who knows what their intentions are? But as I said, we'll find out what happens in the cage.
Yep. We'll find out real soon, man. We also have a couple guys fighting this weekend that do have cards, that have some interesting cards. And first up, we're going to talk about Esteban Ribovics. And he had a really good fight with Zellhuber. That was the first time I noticed him. He ended up beating Zellhuber. Now, we know what happened with Daniel Zellhuber. He went on a super skid, as we've seen lately. But we have a couple different cards here. We've got, 101 selling for 400, 700. We got 300 here, 350 for the of 5 royalty auto. So relatively reasonable on the pricing, right? We've got some of 5s for like 275. He is a somewhat of a younger guy, fun style, and I wanted to pick your brain. He is fighting Gamrot, right, which is a really tough matchup, very difficult guy to solve. He comes at you with a million takedowns, spams the takedowns. Can he get it done? I don't know. But what are your thoughts on the younger guy like this fighting kind of a guy with Gamrot style? And then what is your favorite card that he has?
So yeah, I don't think, to just point out the obvious, I don't think Mateus Gamrot gets a lot of offers. I don't think there's a lot of guys in the lightweight division
Yeah.
put their name up to fight him. Obviously, he just wants to fight, so he's taking whatever gets put in front of him. And this guy's going to try and take an opportunity to get a higher ranked opponent. He's probably got a few little too many decisions. No big names. Obviously, Gamrot is easily probably double the I guess the echelon of what he's fought before, as you said, having a more notable win over someone like Zellhuber, who's not even ranked, I believe. So I looked at his record before. He's got a few split decisions, unanimous decisions. Nothing too exciting from what sort of seeing from any recent performances, but as a speculative rookie, I mean, I think there would be plenty of other people who I would be looking at instead of him. But my favorite card for him is his first Chrome Auto in the blue, and that's purely from what we talked about before with the, I'm a sucker for a color match. So even though this is one of the higher parallels to 150, I think this is a cool card, on card rookie auto with the matching blue ink. So
nice. You're going to like the card I picked because it's a color match too. And I thought of you whenever I picked it. I was like, check out the gloves, check out the shorts, it's the Frozen Fractor, which is also pretty interesting. I haven't seen too much of a consensus on whether people like the Frozen Fractor, or to me, it's kind of just another of 5 parallel. I don't really think it got that much buzz on this first release. I think a lot of people were confused because it's a negative on the back. It says like -1, negative,
-5.
yeah. So kind of an interesting thing there. But yeah, I thought this was actually a really pretty card, and I wouldn't mind having one of these in the collection. The little icicles here. We'll see what they do for this next iteration of Chrome in 2026, because I do believe they are bringing back the Frozen Fractors.
Yeah, well, they generally, from year to year, they generally add parallels and don't take them away. And I mean, yeah, the Frozen refractors are, although they are unique, they're definitely a box filler, when we're talking about -5 and stuff like that. Like, it's getting a bit silly, but that's the direction of collectibles these days.
Yeah, it is. All right, man. And we're talking about a guy that is fighting the eraser, Paulo Costa, your boy Paulo Costa, and I'm talking about Azamat Murzakonov. an older rookie, not only older as in his cards were in 2023, but he's also like 38, 37, I believe, or is about to turn 38. So he is up there, but he's undefeated and he does hit like a truck, man. And he's also kind of an interesting guy in that he's a little bit shorter for the weight class. So I am interested to see what he does. But look at, you could get a 101 of his for 350. Now that's not a rookie, but that's still pretty impressive in my opinion. We got his 101 selling for 1100 in 2025 on auction. What do you think about this guy in that he's a little bit older as a rookie? And also, what is your favorite of his cards?
Yeah, obviously older as a rookie, being in the light heavyweight division. Yeah, what is he, 14-0, I think he is, something like that. And as you
Yeah,
said,
maybe 15 or 16.
yeah, okay. So yeah, obviously good record. Nobody really knows who he is, but I guess this could be a breakout performance because Paulo Costa has his own fan base, including myself. But I'm really excited, speaking of this matchup, just to see how Paulo Costa does at light heavyweight. And I think this will be a pretty exciting fight. It's been bumped up now to the co-main. So very excited for this fight. And yeah, how Azamat goes, I mean, does he get pushed towards a potential title match after this? I don't think he's probably a few off. Obviously, Paulo Costa isn't ranked. I just believe this is his first fight at light heavyweight. He wants to be active in both divisions still if he can get a big fight at back there at middleweight. But I think Azamat is still a few off getting a title shot. But getting 101s at 350, if you really wanted to speculate hard, I wouldn't recommend it. But yeah.
We're never going to recommend speculation on this channel, but I don't know if a title shot is out of the picture for him. Let's say he goes out there and he absolutely smashes Paulo Costa and just punches a hole through his head. Who else is in this division right now? Like, this division is pretty dead and empty since Poatan moves up. Obviously, we have Yuri. Obviously, we have Olberg. After that, like, who realistically do we have? We got Big Onk, but like nobody is really that that behind him. We were talking about like relevancy earlier. If Azamat goes out there and punches a hole through Costa's head, and then Yuri and Olberg have a slugfest, maybe it's not a 0% chance, I guess is what I'm saying. But yeah, he is definitely older. He's like 37. Not a 0% chance that he could become a champion and have a couple, a decent run. But at that age, man, the statistics are very, very against him, and he's going to have a really tough time cementing himself as an all-timer, within cards and within the UFC when he realistically only has a couple more years with the tread on his tires.
Actually, that's a good question. Spin-off. Unprepared question.
Nice.
What do you think? I know Olberg's fighting for the championship right now, but let's say for whatever reason Yuri beats him. What do you like your chances if Izzy goes up to light heavyweight instead?
Izzy versus who?
Or whoever. Maybe
Anybody?
gets one fight before a title shot. Maybe, as I said, Yuri wins. Then maybe Izzy fights one fight at light heavyweight and then puts him in a position to fight Yuri, for example. Do you think that could excite the fans from what we were talking about before?
That would be interesting. I think at this point, one, it's a lot of it is mental with Israel Adesanya. He kind of, I hate to say he gave up against Pyfer, but he did not look like he was biting down on his mouthpiece and like clawing and gritting, like we have seen in the past. And this is not any knock on him. Like, we've seen this many times. The sport is so difficult, is so hard on your mind, so hard on your body. If you are not 100% in the cage, in the fight to win, like, his like crazy, I'm ready to die, like I will die for this. Like, you have to have that mindset in such a ridiculous sport, like when you're literally fighting tooth and nail in the middle of the octagon. And his reaction time is a little bit slower, which moving up would potentially help, right? Because as you carry that weight up, generally the guys are a little bit slower, but they hit way harder. At this point, I don't really want to see Izzy. I honestly wanted him to retire like 2 fights ago, man. He just has nothing. He has nothing to prove. Yeah, the question is, what do we do with him now? What does he do? Could he win at 205? I definitely think he could beat some of these guys at 205. He's still extremely skilled, man. He's still very skilled. He hasn't lost that, but he's a little bit slower. His timing is not as good, but mainly it's up here, man. I don't think he has the mindset like he used to. He's not as hungry as he used to be, and that is what we almost always see with these guys once they lose a couple and they start kind of getting a little bit older.
Yeah. No, I think they're all good points, but I think that should be if he is going to fight again, I would like to see that move. But yeah, back to Azamat. Let's if you want to pull up when we talk about his favorite card. I couldn't find a favorite card, but what I did find was absolute laziness, and not even by Panini at this point. We have 3 years, right, with 3 staple products. We have his Panini Select rookie card. We have his 2024 Chrome card. We have his 2025 Chrome card, and they're all the same image. All they did when in 2025 was just zoom in on the same image a little bit more. This is absolutely just not on. Obviously, I know Fanatics and Topps are listening, and they're going to change this because this is absolutely like. If I was a collector of Azamat, would you be, excited to be getting the same image 3 years in a row? Like it's
Ridiculous.
It's unacceptable.
Yeah, and this is not the first time that we've seen this, Damian. This is not the last time we're going to see this. I don't know why this happens. It seems very easy. You choose a file, right? You choose a file, you choose a picture, and then you delete it once you use it, and then you never use it again. I don't really understand why this continues to keep happening, but it's happened, and it is going to happen again, sadly. Man, I chose this one for the coolest card I could find of his, and I wanted to kind of pick your brain on the cracked ice. So I am a cracked ice fan visually, right? I believe this one is like of 8 or something like that. Like it is a pretty low print run.
Yeah.
But it's so confusing. It's so confusing whenever there's so many different iterations of cracked ice. Some of them are, retail, not rare at all. Some of them are 1 per box. Some of them are of 8. So like psychology wise, what does that do to you if you're a buyer? Do you think that would put people off of this card? Do you think that matters at all? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it matters a lot. And as you said, because people who are buying these cards for whatever reason, they're buying it for collectability, they're buying it for design. And if you are having the same design, the same parallel over different products, I guess, numbered or serial numbered differently, the rarity is different. It just makes it so confusing for whether you're, as I said, collecting or even speculating. And it really ruins the sentiment of having these individual, I guess, parallels. And as you said, it's nothing that's also new. Obviously, we talked about it before. We've got the red of 5 for Chrome at the moment, then we've got this -5. So, like, it should be illegal. But yeah, I don't like it. I don't agree with it, and I think it just makes it confusing for everyone, whether it be collector or speculator. I think obviously, especially we're talking about speculation, it more so hurts the value because people, as you said, we had cracked ice for the first ever time, which was a case insert, so which people, it gets lost on them because the next year it was just a regular parallel, unnumbered. So they need to, not that they're going to do this, but it would be nice to think they could keep on a streamline in terms of parallels and numbering.
Yeah, but it in this instance, I think it sucks because this is like a really pretty card. I think this is like a beautiful card visually, one of the best that I could find of his. You got the PSA red with the red shorts. You got the crazy speckled cracked ice look going. But yeah, but then in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, just you look at this and you're like, oh, what version is this? Oh, wait, this is numbered to of 8. So I could see this being a barrier for a lot of people to potentially buy this card. If you're the seller of this, maybe you might not sell this as quickly, or maybe it doesn't move because of those reasons. So I thought that was kind of an interesting talking point on that before we move on to a segment that we have not done for a while, Damian, but we're going to do it today, and it is trash, sell, hold. That is trash. Oh, you got to sell that. Hold. All right, Damian. This one's a little bit different. It's really not even trash, sell, hold. It's more so we have 3 separate cards, and it's not even a separate card. It's more like a cohort of cards, but they are all upper echelon cards. One of them is vintage. One of them is like semi-modern, and one of these types hasn't even came out yet. It hasn't even hit the market, but they are three very, very big types of cards. And I kind of wanted to pick your brain on where do we go? Where do we go in the future? Where are we right now with these cards? And it's the trash sell hold segment, but it's more just a reason to talk about these three cards. And I want to pick your brain on what you think is the best, maybe second best, third best. So it's more, I guess, a ranking this time than it is a trash sell hold. But yeah, here are the three that we're going to be talking about. And we're going to be talking about Panini era Black Prism 101s. We are going to be talking about round one autos, and I'm going to include red inks and just honestly the blue in the base version, because they are so freaking rare and so vintage, first ever, debut for UFC. And then also, speaking of debuts, we got the patch auto 101 debuts from the fighters that are coming up. So Damian, what do you think of these three, man? And where do you think, these are going to fall in the future? Ranking 1, 2, 3, trash sell hold, wherever you want to take this.
I'm definitely going to go the trash hold sell, because that's
All
how
right.
I looked at this when you presented these cards. And yeah, it was very thought provoking, which is what we like to do here on these collabs. And obviously, yeah, very, very interesting choices from you. Obviously, this is always going to be individual too, in terms of
Very
what people
much.
keep, what people's opinions are. But for me, choosing through these three, I did it in a process of what I think has significance. Two of these cards have significance, and one, although it is very cool and it is unique, I don't believe it does have any significance for one particular reason. But I don't know what you want to start with. You want to do how do you want to rank this? Do you want to do like a ranking from 3 to 1, or do you
Yeah.
want to do, what do you
Yeah.
start with, like a trash or?
Yeah. We'll start with trash. We'll go sell, and then we'll go hold. 3, 2, 1.
All right, no worries. So first off, as I said, based purely off significance, that's how I've ranked these three individual cards. I'm going to be trashing the Black Prism 101. As much as I think they're very, very cool, I do like the design of them. We only had 3 years of Panini. Most fighters have more than one Black Prism. So therefore, although this is a rookie, I mean, other than the significance of being a rookie and a 101, obviously there were other 101 parallels as well for Select. We had like 3 different parallels of Select 101s, only one of the Prisms. So although these cards are technically rare, I don't think they carry the significance of what the other 2 cards do, which we can talk about. But yeah, I'm going to be trashing the Black Prisms. But as I said, I definitely do love these cards and would love to own
Yeah.
one. But
Yeah, of
comparing to the
course.
other two, that's the one that I would be throwing in the bin. What about you?
Dude, I am very surprised to hear you say that. But I completely agree. And let me again reiterate, we are not trashing the Ilya Taporia Black Prism 101. We're talking
Yeah,
meta. We're talking big picture here. We're
I'm not
talking
trashing
about, yeah.
$100,000 card.
So
Yeah,
we're talking about just black prisms as a whole, right? The
as a
idea of
whole, yeah.
black prisms. And really, whenever I was thinking about this, and I think you're thinking of it the same way, I'm thinking in like 20, 30 years, whenever we look back on these, like, how are we going to view the black prisms as a whole? How are we going to view the round one vintage autos as a whole? And then the debut patches that we're going to get in the next couple years. And I completely agree, Damian. For the longest time, man, let me find this. This always blew my mind. And I swear the only reason that these are so high is because of the time period that these sold. Like, this is such an insane sale. You have the Habib 101 for 47,000. This is so much higher than his even super rare first autos that have sold. And for the longest time, I was like, I just don't understand the appeal of the Black Prism. It's a beautiful card. Would I want this card? Absolutely. But what is the significance? I like that you use the word significance. What makes this so significant to sell for 4 or 5 times the other prices of Habib one of ones and the other prices of his more significant autos that he has? So I am in complete agreement that I would track. it sounds so silly, right? That we're trashing the Black Prism 101. It's a beautiful cards, beautiful cards, but in the grand scheme of things, I do not think that these are going to be as significant as the debuts of both of these, which are 2 debuts. So I'll go ahead and not say anything more and let you choose your next one for the sell.
Yeah, so for the sell, to keep it short and sweet as well, it's purely going to be the debut patches, and that's not, once again, that's not as an individual card, but that's just as a whole. Obviously, if, as I said, I'm going to be trying to get a debut patch for Tommy McMillan, but I mean, would I trash that card or would I sell that card? Absolutely not. But if we're talking about the insert or the parallel as a whole, I believe you're better off to be selling in these as they first come out. And then obviously that's going to leave, I'll explain for clear reasons, is the significance and the history, the history of these, red, especially when we talk about red inks.
Yeah.
These are the one and only, I guess, first releases for UFC. Nothing's ever going to top that in terms of there's going to be never again a first set release. There's never going to be the significance of these first ever red inks, especially with some of the historic fighters in that set. When we look back at, I guess, some of the forefathers of modern mixed martial arts. So for that reason only, for the pure, I guess, collectability, for the rarity and the history behind these cards, that's why I think they're an absolute hold until the end of time, comparatively to the rookie patches, which are still a very cool card. But as I said, to compare apples to apples of an overall card, then yeah, definitely going with these red inks and these first autos from 2009.
All right, we got a disagreement here. This hurts me to say, man, because I love vintage. I love round 1, but there's a part of me that just is thinking 30 years in the future, and I'm just thinking to myself, if I was able to get a Habib debut patch or a John Jones debut patch, if they had a GSP debut patch, the story and the connection that you have with that card is absolutely insane. You go back, you watch the fight, you see him come out, have it on their shoulder, then you see him beat the guy down. Maybe they have it on in the octagon afterwards. I just think that those are going to be so cool long term. Now, short term, we don't know who's going to be the next guy, right? The whole different ball game of if these are even going to pan out, these guys are even going to pan out. But the aspect of having them wear it on their debut fight when they were nobody, it's a 101. There's only one of these. I think this is just so cool, man. And I can't wait to see these in person. Hopefully, I'll get to see one eventually. I can't wait to see what kind of numbers they do. But I am going to hold the debut patches, and I'm going to sell the round 1s. The main reason I went that way, Damian, was really thinking about the print run. Like, I mean, if 20 cards on the red ink, absolutely insane. They're so amazing. First ever debut UFC cards. But if you could have something that was worn on the first ever fight of Sean O'Malley, or if Sean O'Malley debuted in the first ever UFC release, like, what would you choose? You know what I mean? Like if I know that's a weird brain problem to solve, but to me, I would rather have the 101 from the debut fight of the rookie fighter.
Okay, let me try and blow your mind, because what you've just told me is very individual. Would you rather hold any red ink auto from any fighter in 2009 Topps Round 1, or would you rather hold any debut patch from any fighter who could end up being a nobody or could end up being a somebody?
See, that we just took it 2 different ways there, because I'm thinking of, let's say we have Sean O'Malley, and we'll use Sean O'Malley.
But you don't get to pick that. That's what we don't know.
No,
we're talking about cards as a
right. But what we do know is, I guarantee you there are going to be champions that have these debut patches in 30 years. I guarantee you there are going to be Hall of Famers that have debut patches in 30 years. So we know that is going to be a thing. Like, it's just impossible that it's not going to be. We always have new guys that come out in our superstars. So I'm not saying that I think this specific guy is going to pan out, or comparing the debut patches to the legacy of the greatest fighters of all time. I guess I'm comparing the idea of the debut patch versus the idea of the first ever UFC card release, I guess. Does that even make sense? It's
Not
getting
really,
late over
because
here. It's getting late over here,
yeah, yeah,
Damien.
it's good because the idea involves all cards, including the bums who are never going to be anything, as opposed to the
Okay.
historic legends who have autos in the first ever made UFC set. At least that's how I looked at it. So
Okay.
the people in the comments, the viewers, they can let us know their thoughts as well, because we'd love to see them.
That's an interesting thought. Would you rather have the worst fighter with a Topps round one auto, or the worst fighter with a debut patch?
Probably the worst fighter with the auto.
With the debut patch auto, or with the round one auto?
No, with the round one auto.
Okay.
Because I think the worst fighter of a red ink auto from 2009 in round one in 20 years is going to fetch more than some bum fighter who never did anything of a debut patch.
Yeah, but we have guys that were bums that never did anything in round one as well. Is my point.
Yeah, but it's a historicness of the first ever set. I think there
Okay.
are going to be a lot more set chases for that card as opposed to that 101.
Okay. Fair enough. Good topic as always, and kind of a fun meta discussion on significance within cards and what makes these cards significant over time. We can also look at a few numbers regarding these crazy cards. And dude, like eight grand, 7 grand, like it's just crazy the sales for these cards and how low they are.
Man, I would buy that card for 8 grand. I honestly would.
Yeah, like it's whenever we're talking about the upper end and
Oh,
like
that was 2023, but I reckon that's worth more now for sure. That'd have to be a
this one's
probably.
2025 and it's cheaper. Now
Uh,
it's not graded, but I mean, yeah, we got the spider. Like it goes to show that, like, again, at the upper end, I think that's really where the value is so suppressed on these things. But I wanted to show you this over here. Okay, so we have, and this is other sports, right? So the numbers are just astronomical. But this is Paul Skeen. So this is sorting through all of his cards. The debut patch auto is 10 times more than his other card. Isn't that crazy? It's 10 times more expensive than his Bowman Chrome. And then if you look over here, this one is over 5 times more for this guy, Nick Kurtz, whoever that is. I don't watch baseball. Isn't that crazy, man?
yeah, but it makes sense to be those sports, and I think debut patches in baseball were the first ever ones to be done. So, and I said I think Paul Skeens, isn't he like the Jesus of baseball or something? So
You're asking the wrong guy. That's the I don't know watch baseball at all, but I did think that was at least interesting to look at how crazy the multiplier is on over on that side. And then I posed the question to you: will we see that type of multiplier within the UFC space?
I for sure, I think for the right fighter we will. I think if we can get some of these bigger rookies over the next 2 or 3 years, I think we're going to be seeing at least 5-digit cards. Whether we're talking 50 to 100 grand, I think for the right fighter, some of these cards will draw in the right price for sure. So it's going to be fun times.
Yeah, like imagine an Ilya debut patch or a Potan debut patch. Go down the line of amazing people and amazing fighters, and then I think the sky's the limit. Now we do have a limit, right? And the limit is going to be how big can our pond get? Because right now it is still very small. And whenever you start going to those type of cards, like the number just dwindles and shrinks and shrinks. But I mean, maybe we do get some people outside of the UFC space looking in and speculating on these debut patch cards and really throwing some money at these, because after looking at those numbers from baseball, the UFC numbers are probably going to be, peanuts in comparison to that.
Yeah, well, just imagine the wealthy eyeballs that things like the White House card's going to bring into the sport as a whole. You got these people who easily spend $100,000 on a Formula One of Lewis Hamilton or something like that. Like these people who just have money to spend, they're the people you want to get the attention of. So I think as the sport develops, as they do more circus shows like this White House card, I think that's going to bring some bigger pockets in for sure.
Yeah, I agree. All right, man. Speaking of agree, we got agree or disagree.
Agree or disagree?
That is the question. All right, Damian. We've had a lot of rumblings lately about, the guy, Uncle Dana White. And he recently, made some headlines on my feed. I don't know if it was on anybody else's feed about his response to a reporter asking him about the use of AI and fans not liking the UFC using AI, which I also noticed when they used it. And I said that they literally just went to AI. The font was exactly the same. I don't know if they use ChatGPT or what, but there's a specific look that you get whenever you use those programs, right? And Dana White's response was like, shut the fuck up and just watch the fights or something like that. To saying it to us, the consumers of the UFC, which is crazy. I honestly don't care that much. But like, if you thought about any other boss that would talk to his customers that way, it's kind of crazy. So my question for you, Damian, is it time for Dana White to step away from the UFC? Do you agree or disagree with that statement?
I guess the bigger question is, what difference does it make? I mean, Dana White is he's a shareholder of TKO and UFC. I think he's been around long enough there. You've got other people like Sean Shelby, Hunter Campbell, who have been around Dana long enough that obviously Dana's roots extend much deeper than what he does when he's at press conferences, and his personality. He's very polarizing. People either love him or hate him for that exact reason of how brushy he is and how, straight shooter he is. You either like that or you don't like that. I personally agree. I think he's how obnoxious he is can rub even me the wrong way sometimes. As you said, you just like even when people bring up other things about it's like, why are you even asking that? Or he just gives like the most ignorant, like aggressive responses sometimes, which doesn't do the sport any favors. But I think from a media perspective, but a lot of people like that about Dana too. Like you got to think of the generation that he's sort of trying to appeal to as well. They like that sort of. I guess they must like that about his personality. But as I said, if he was to step away from the UFC, which is getting towards what the statement is, I honestly don't think it matters because I don't think there's any. I think obviously matchups. I think as UFC grows a little bit more, it's becoming more and more obvious about, as we've talked about before. I've talked about it, and I know you somewhat agree. The UFC is sort of more of a business even than it is a sport. The matchups that we see sometimes, the direction that they take with some fightings, with pushing some people, not pushing others. It's less about rankings and more about, I guess, outside influences to a fighter in their career. I don't think any of that changes with Dana, and I think that's the biggest problem with the UFC, is that there are some, I guess, stigma around how the business runs as opposed to being a sport and putting the best fighters against the best fighters. I don't think any of that changes whether Dana White steps away or not. I think that's, as I said, too deeply rooted. He is a shareholder. I think he's always going to have his way, and he's always going to run the business how he runs it. And whether he's on the mic or not at press conferences, I don't think that makes any difference in front of the media. He's always going to be who he is and have the same attitude. So I don't think it really matters. Should he step away? Who do they put someone else in there? I think the UFC lose their face in Dana White. Dana White is very much the face of the UFC. Would that hurt the business longer term? I don't think so. So I don't really think that even really matters. And then if they put a yes man in there who's, very polite and friendly with all the media, could that draw in more people? Maybe. I don't know. But I don't. To answer your question, should he step away? No, I don't think it makes any difference whether he does or he doesn't. But if I have to pick, I disagree. I don't think he should step away for the moment, at least.
Okay. I mean, you kind of echoed like my sentiment of he doesn't need to be here. What value does Dana White add at this point? I mean, I'm talking as a guy that literally has his rookie card, and I will always have his rookie card. He is incredibly important to the formation of the UFC. He has been the face of UFC for decades, man. But at this point, what value is he bringing? In my opinion, there's basically none. Like, I don't know, what is he doing?
Other than a familiar face, nothing.
Right, nothing. And like, who cares? I don't care who's telling me the fights that are coming on. I don't watch because Dana White. Like, I don't really care about Dana White at all, except that he has formed the organization that I love to watch. Like, I don't care if he's in. Who cares who's putting the belt on these guys? We can have a much better production of telling me the fights that are coming up than Dana yelling into a smartphone with bad lighting, you know, and the board behind him. He's checked out. He's checked out.
If you had to agree or disagree, Dana White's a terrible promoter, I would agree with that, because I don't think he doesn't do very good at his job. But
he doesn't even want to be there anymore.
He cares more about the UFC as a promotion than So as I said, what value does he bring? None. But I don't think anything changes whether he leaves or he doesn't. So,
and I guess that maybe that's where we differ slightly, is that whenever you have somebody that is excited about a job and wants to do, I don't think Dana White's excited about this anymore. He's brought it to the top where it needs to be. He, you know, is like a wartime chief. He's like a wartime chief, and the UFC is basically in peacetime now. They've made it. They are at the pinnacle. At this point, you need somebody who's going to like give it some TLC and kind of make this monster grow. You're already where you need to be, and you needed Dana White to get there. They would not have got there if he wasn't there. So he's incredibly important. But at this time, I'm sure he wants to go do the Zuffa boxing. Just go do that, man. You don't need to be involved with the UFC anymore. And there's probably some logistic business reasons why he's still there, but to me, he does not look happy. He does not look like he's having fun, and that is very visible. And I don't know if maybe I'm making that up, but I feel like it's pretty easy to see he's not excited about it anymore, and it's just a job for him. So I do think that the UFC would benefit if he just stepped away from it and let somebody else come in who actually cares, who wants to really grow this thing and put in the work and the effort needed, and then is going to enjoy doing that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, he does have a bad attitude in terms of when he talks to media, it's like he doesn't even want to be there or answer their questions, which is fair, but then he shouldn't do it if he doesn't want to do it. You can only imagine, though, I could only imagine the person that Dana White is. We're getting the Dana White in front of cameras. Could you imagine what those guys are like behind cameras?
And that's another thing, right? Is like,
Yeah,
when it comes to negotiating with fight, and what does he even do at this point? I don't know. He probably doesn't do much, and mainly his role is probably just media, is just being the face, like we're talking about. But like, I mean, if we're talking about, does Dana White think that the fighters should get paid more? Probably not. Does he think like they should be using real artists to give the fans a better product? Obviously he doesn't. They should just use AI and do the bare minimum. Like, I think it's just a pattern and a trend with him that at this point, I think not only the fans, but I think everyone basically that's affiliated with the UFC may be better off if he would just go do what he wants to do.
yeah, they're good points for sure.
But it is getting late, Damian. It is 10:31 over here. What time is it in Australia?
1:30
1:30 p.m.
in the afternoon.
Afternoon.
Yeah.
So I am tired. Damian's just getting warmed up, man. But thanks for coming on again. Had a great time talking as always.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, love getting on these and having the discussions we do. Apologies, everyone. I've noticed I went to cellular data for the connection, and it's been pretty unstable. It's been good at the end here, but unfortunately, it wasn't that great throughout the whole thing. So apologies to people for that. Hopefully, we get that sorted for the next one. But yeah, good to be here, Zach. Great topics. People, let us know your thoughts in the comments. We always love to see them. If you've got questions, drop them in there, and we can hit them up for another collab. But yeah, thanks again, Zach, and do this again.
Yes, sir. If you haven't already, go subscribe over to Damian's channel and check out his boxing journey. This guy's getting smacked, dude. I saw a black eye on him last week.
It's true.
All right, everybody. See you.
Bye.